all these countries, and I used to travel to all these countries promoting Malaysian products and also Malaysian investments. Today, for today's presentation, I'm only looking at export opportunities and not on the other areas. Normally, what I'm presenting today is taken from a half-day seminar that I used to conduct on exploring business opportunities in Africa, where I also cover investment opportunities, service export, service investments, and also on import from South Africa to Malaysia. I do cover all this, but then today we also have Ola here who will be covering that. What I'm going to give you is not what you find in the internet or in any books. I'm only giving you information based on my own experience and my own engagement in Africa. I lived in Africa for almost 10 years and I still travel to Africa very often. I still do business in some of the African countries. So that's my background. Okay, coming back to my presentation today. Jaya, can you move? Can we start? Okay. I have been promoting Africa to the Malaysian business community from those days until even today. I've been talking about Africa to them. Many of them, they are reluctant to look at Africa because they feel that, oh, these people got no money, they are poor, they are not they can't afford. And then they say it's a lot of unstable, politically it's very unstable. They used to read about civil wars, dictatorships, and then they say that there's no democracy in Africa. So people, I mean, Malaysians are reluctant even to travel to Africa. Then the other area is they hear a lot about disease outbreaks, scams, even payment terms. They feel that the Africans would not respect payments. Even they open letter of credit, they are not even guaranteed of being paid. I can tell you 30 years ago, one Malaysian exporter exported to Angola palm oil, and the Angolan buyer has already issued a letter of credit and paid that money to the Central Bank of Angola. But what happened was that the Central Bank of Angola used up the money, and the Malaysian guy finally did not get the payment. It was 30 years ago, but today all the banking sector in Africa is very well developed. You find a lot of international banks. So taking an LC from any African, most of the leading African countries shouldn't be a problem. You don't need to worry about that. Okay, scams. I think you have nowadays, this is not an issue anymore because you find scams even from Hong Kong, China, other Asian countries. But I'm sure that a lot of Malaysians are aware of it, and you know that you can't be scammed just like that. So you do not worry about that. A lot of bad publicity on Africa. That is what why a lot of Malaysians are reluctant to go to Africa. Even in terms of trade, Africa is the lowest because we are always looking at China, America, the European countries. These are our main focus, and some of the Middle East countries and so on. But when you talk about Africa, they are really not very interested. This is my dealing with most of the SMEs in Malaysia. When you talk about Africa, they say, ini dia orang boleh bayar. Is that can trust? Is it the market there? You know, that's how they have been talking about. But today, I think things are changing. Next slide. Yeah. Okay. This is. I just show you because due to the time factor, I cannot be spending too much time on explaining to you on Africa. What I would like to show you, there are 54 countries in Africa. What I would say is that some of the advanced regions, one is the South African region. South African region, you have South Africa, Namibia, Mozambique, Zimbabwe, Zambia, and even you can add in Madagascar, Malawi. These are some of the areas where there is a lot of activities going on, and it's a good area to focus. The other area is East Africa, West Africa. West Africa includes Nigeria, Benin, Togo, Ghana, Ivory Coast, Liberia, Sierra Leone, Senegal. These are some of the countries that you should look at in West Africa. And the third area I'm looking at is East Africa. It's also it's also a high growth area, especially Kenya. From Kenya, you are looking at Tanzania, Ethiopia, and southern Sudan, and some of the islands, nearby islands. So this is another area. And last I'm looking at is the northern African countries, which is more the Arabic. And we are already quite established in terms of business in these countries. So as for the Malaysians now, I would think that we should give a lot of focus on West Africa and East Africa. These are the two regions I think you should focus. Whereas South Africa, Southern Africa, is more or less saturated. And I would say that South Africa is not really a market. It's a very big market, but a lot of Malaysians are already there. And if you are a new exporter, it is still not a market for you, because there is a lot of other markets that are welcoming Malaysian products, East Africa and West Africa. So I would say that these are the two regions that we should focus. Next. Yeah. So this I've given you the population. Though you can see the biggest market is Nigeria, followed by Ethiopia, Egypt, Congo, Tanzania, South Africa, Kenya, Uganda, and Sudan, Algeria. These are some of the biggest markets, but that doesn't mean that these are the big markets for Malaysian products. Then I will come back to you later. Next. Okay. Africa is the second largest continent in the world with 54 countries, and they have got 1.4 billion population. Some say it's 1.2 billion, but generally the latest figure says about 1.4 billion. Out of that, 60% of them are young population, less than 24 years. So you can see how the market trend is in Africa. And as far as trade is concerned, they are finding products coming from Europe are more expensive, although there are still a market for niche products, branded products, but they prefer products coming from Asia. And one of the countries they always talk about is Malaysia. China and India, they're already established in Africa. In fact, you find Chinese and Indian products all over Africa. But now I think if you go to Africa, if you tell them you're Malaysian, they really welcome you, because Malaysia has already created a brand in Africa. So when anything you say Malaysian product, they are very welcoming. And now they have also launched the AFTA, the African Continental Free Trade Area. They have just launched it in 2021, but they are still not ready, because they seem to have a lot of differences between the 54 countries. You know, to bring all the 54 countries to one free trade area is not that easy. Even for us, ASEAN, 10 countries, they are still not really up to that standard like the European Commission. So you can expect these 54 countries to come to a free trade. It will take a long time. But at the moment, they are still moving towards that, and they feel that if you were to invest or set up a factory, then you have a better marketability in the region. Okay, the other areas like diversify culture and so on, what you should take note is most of them in Africa, they speak English, and some part of Africa, they speak French. But again, a lot of French-speaking countries, they are also learning English. So language couldn't be a big problem when you deal with the Africans. Africa is rich in terms of resources. One of the richest countries in the world for resources is Congo. They say it is the richest country in the world for natural resources, and this is not really exploited. And if all these resources are being exploited, Africa could be the biggest or the number one economic they will be the most successful in terms of economic growth. In fact, they say that in another 10 years' time, Africa can even take over the ASEAN, the Asian force. And what else do we have? Next, please. Okay, these challenges I already mentioned before. This is more for investment and so on. So if you are looking at exporting to Africa, the only thing you should look at is like the payment terms, tariff and non-tariff barriers. These are the only issues that you have to worry about. Whereas the others like political stability and so on, if you are just doing trading, you don't need to worry about. This is more for if you are going to invest in Africa, you have to look at all these 10 points that I have mentioned here. Next.
Dr. Jaya?
Yeah, why I say that you should look at Africa, as I mentioned to you, we have 1.4 billion population, and by the time 2050, they estimate the population to be 2.1 billion. And with the Africa continental free trade area coming in place, then you are looking at a huge market. Okay, at the moment they already have regional markets. One is, for example, for the Arab countries, they have the Arab Maghrebian Union. Then you have COMESA, this is the Community of Sahara States. Then you have the East African Community, which is called the AAC. ECOWAS is for West Africa. Then you also have SADC, Southern African Development Community. They do have, if you export to, let's say, South Africa, you can move freely to Namibia, to Botswana, to some of the neighboring countries. Same with East Africa. If you send your products to West Africa, if you send your products to, let's say, Ghana, then you have a free movement. You can go to Nigeria, you can go to Benin, you can go to Senegal. That is that kind of free trade movement. So you have to look at it. Which are the areas that you are focusing on? As I mentioned to you, I would prefer that you look at West Africa and East Africa, and they have already a kind of a free trade arrangement. So if you export to Kenya, from Kenya you can actually send your products to Tanzania, Uganda, and the other neighboring countries, which comes under the EAC. So that is something that you should know about. And then the alignment to Asian countries is now greater. They are not so much looking at the European countries. Those days they were looking at the French and the British, but now no, they are already looking at Asia. And the thing is that a lot of Asian countries, besides China and India, are like Thailand, Philippines, Singapore, and Indonesia. They are doing quite well as compared to Malaysia. Only we Malaysians are a bit reluctant as compared to the Thais and the Indonesians. I have seen Indonesians, Singaporeans going there in big setting up warehousing and doing a lot of business. But when we brought this message to Matre and to the Malaysian business people, they were not ready to do that. Until today, we are struggling. We have been telling them, why don't you follow what the Indonesians are doing, what the Thais are doing, what the Singaporeans are doing? We have still not succeeded in convincing the Malaysians to do it. They just want a good letter of credit endorsed by a European bank, then we can talk. Otherwise, you pay cash, then I supply my goods. So they make it very stiff. They're not very flexible in the African market. And the next. Yeah, these are some of the countries that I have identified. When you look at Northern Africa, I would think that you should look at Egypt, Morocco, and Libya. I think Libya is also, although the population is not so big, it is also a country where they prefer to work with Malaysia. In fact, the recent Matre trade mission to Libya was a very big success. In fact, the Libyan government is giving a lot of priority to Malaysians. Recently, the Libyan president announced 2,000 scholarships for Libyan students to study in Malaysia. And this is already ongoing. And they wanted to increase it to 5,000 scholarships. So you can see there's a lot of interest by Libya on Malaysia. So I would think that these three countries target that you can target for exporting not only products but also services, like what I say, education services. When you come to West Africa, of course, you have Nigeria, which is the biggest market in Africa. I think there are a lot of things are happening now with Nigeria and Malaysia. Earlier, Nigeria had a lot of import restrictions, but now I think they're quite open up. And there are a lot of Nigerians who are living in Malaysia who are doing wonderful trade between Nigeria and Malaysia. There is even certain portals they have come out with just to build up business between Malaysia and Nigeria. So Nigeria is something that you should look at. The other countries are Ghana, Senegal, Ivory Coast, and Guinea. There are a lot of businessmen from these countries. They're already in Malaysia. They're already buying a lot of products and exporting on their own to these countries. So these are the countries that you should target. And I know these countries are welcoming to Malaysian products. The other country that a lot of you may not be interested is Central Africa. One is Congo, the other one is Cameroon and Rwanda. The main reason why we are not looking at it is because we think it's French speaking. To me, this is the gold mine. They got a lot of money. Congo is very rich. Cameroon is rich. Rwanda is like Singapore. And if you are looking at some niche, look at this market. Look at it. Although it is French speaking, there are people, there are businessmen in this country who can speak in English. So there is no issue about French. Then the other side is Eastern Africa. I think this one is well promoted by Matre because they have an office in Kenya. Kenya is a booming market for Malaysian product because I think this is, after South Africa, I would say Kenya is the second biggest importer of Malaysian products. And besides Kenya, you can look at Ethiopia, Uganda, Tanzania, Malawi, and Zambia. These are all English-speaking countries, and easy to do business with them. And as I mentioned to you, they come under the East African community. If you export to Kenya, you have a market. The whole East Africa can be your market. And Southern Africa, headed by South Africa, Zimbabwe, Mozambique, and Namibia, it is more or less quite saturated for Malaysian products, but still, you can still look at it because I know that Malaysia have been participating in the South African International Trade Fair in South Africa and the Bulawayo Trade Fair in Zimbabwe. Those days, it was very successful. But as time passed by now, our participation does not bring in much response to the extent that Matre stopped participating in any of these trade fairs in these countries. So, and the last one that I feel that you should look at is the islands like Madagascar, Seychelles, Comoros, and Mauritius. Once I was in Madagascar, I went to the supermarket. I saw a lot of Malaysian products, but it was coming from Europe. It is written there, let's say vegetable oil. It is written there as made in Malaysia, but February, but made in Malaysia for a company in Germany or Belgium or France. So it is being exported from Europe to Madagascar. I have seen gloves coming from Germany and it is written there made in Malaysia, but
Malaysia.
it's coming from Germany. It is not coming directly from Malaysia. But Madagascar, and if I once I went into a furniture company in Madagascar, and they told me that they got a lot of furniture from Malaysia coming via Singapore, but not direct from Malaysia. So they were telling, why don't you Malaysians come deal with us directly? Why you go through Singapore? So you can see that there is a big market in countries like Madagascar. People in Madagascar, they even feel they are Malaysians because the origin, they look a bit like Polynesians. And I was told that the actual origin is they come from Syllabus, Sulawesi. That is where they come from. So even today you look at them, they don't look like black Africans. They look a bit different. And they want to do business with countries like Malaysia and Indonesia. This is another place that you should look at. And the other countries are like Seychelles, Comoros, and Mauritius, small countries, but they do a lot of trading. Like Mauritius, they buy a lot of products from Malaysia and they distribute to East Africa and some to Central Africa. I know some of the big businessmen, Mauritius, they buy from Malaysia and they export to other parts of Africa. Even today in the Bihars, I saw quite a lot of Mauritians there. They are looking at products to buy from Malaysia to export to Africa. So these are some of the islands that you should look at. Once I was in an island called Comoros. I went to a supermarket. Then I saw some 10 products, and it's written there made in Malaysia. I was very excited. Oh, I said, oh, some Malaysians are exporting to Comoros. So I took it and then I managed to talk to the manager. I said, where do you get this product? Oh, this product comes from Belgium. Then I say, but it's very Malaysia. Yes, but it doesn't come from Malaysia. We don't know anyone in Malaysia. We only buy from the Belgians. They come and supply to us. Then I say, why don't you buy from Malaysia? They say, yeah, come, let me know. I'll buy from you. You see, that is how the market is. I'll give you one experience I have when I first went to South Africa. I was the Malaysian Trade Commissioner. I was going out for a meeting. Then I saw one Gujarati guy with a long beard, wearing jubba. He wants to see me. The first impression I had was, this guy is coming there for some donation. He must be from some mosque in South Africa. I told him, I'm rushing for a meeting. I cannot see you, but you leave your particulars with my secretary, then we will call you. That's how I told him. Then I came down. When I was waiting for my car, I saw a very expensive Mercedes Cabriolet parked in front of my office. Then I saw this guy, this Gujarati guy coming, and he took that. He went to the car. So I went to him and said, is that your car? He said, yes, this is my car, sir. But this is one of my car, he told me. He didn't say this is his only car. Then I got a shock. What I thought is this fellow must be some ustad or somebody, and he's having this kind of car. Then I said, what business you are doing? He said, I do import. But because of apartheid sanction, I cannot buy from Malaysia. So I've been buying from different parts of the world. Then I said, this fellow looked like maybe he owns a few sundry shops. That's what I thought. Maybe because he has got a big Mercedes, maybe he's quite well to do. Then I asked him, what do you want to do? Why you came to see me? He said, I want to import from Malaysia. Because Malaysia is a Muslim country. I heard a lot of Malaysia, but now we want to bring in a lot of Malaysian products. Then I asked him, what do you have? How big is your shop? Then he told me, sir, I have 33 hypermarkets in not only in South Africa, but in Mozambique, in Namibia, in Botswana. Then I got a shock of my life. I said, come, I canceled my other appointment. I took him to my room. I tell him, now let's talk. Then I took all his particulars and sent to Malaysia. He was actually importing like 15 containers a month from Malaysia after that. So you can see there is a lot of, but as I mentioned to you, this happened quite long ago. So all these people are already importing from Malaysia. You can see a lot of South Africans hanging around Malaysia already. They're already buying a lot of products. So this is something saturated. For you, for those who are newcomers, I would think that you should look at new markets. Huh? Okay, I think they're already telling me time already. Yeah? Okay. As far as Madrid is concerned, you do have offices in Egypt, Nigeria, South Africa, and Kenya. You can communicate with them, but that's not enough because these Madrid offices are only limited to those countries, and they really don't go around the whole region. So you can deal with them, but only to a limited extent. If you are looking at the 54 countries, it's huge. Eh? You can do a lot of things in Africa. Next page. Okay, these are the products from my own experience. I lived in South Africa, not only South Africa, I also lived in Ghana. I also lived in other parts of Africa. I stayed there almost 10 years. And I saw the opportunities in Africa. I would say these are some of the products that I have identified that Malaysian companies should look at Africa. For example, food and beverages, even halal. 500 million population of Africa are Muslims. And now there is a lot of awareness in Africa on halal. In fact, there is going to be a South African halal show coming up next year. There are already halal show in I think Nigeria, in some other parts of Africa. So people are now looking at buying halal products from Malaysia. That is one niche area, which is still not developed. But if you have that, this is another area you should look at. But of course, if you don't have halal product, you have other product, doesn't matter because the market is very big for food and beverages. Then vegetable oil and related products. Here I'm talking about palm oil. Africa is one of the biggest market for Malaysian palm oil. In fact, today, Malaysian palm oil is used for cooking. They import a lot of palm oil for cooking. They also use Malaysian palm oil for industrial frying. And also, they use our palm oil products for other industries like soap making, oleochemicals, and so on. So palm oil, Malaysian Palm Oil Promotion Council, they already have, Malaysian Palm Oil Council have 2 offices in Africa, and they are targeting Africa as a big market for Malaysian palm oil. And I'm sure a lot of you are already looking at dealing with palm oil products. If you don't export palm oil, vegetable oil, you can still export soap noodles. Soap noodles have got a huge market in Africa. And other kind of like oleochemicals, this is also a big market. Another product that I feel that you all should look at is medical devices like gloves, condoms, and so on, and also other kinds of medical equipments, the small equipment, catheters, and so on. There is a big market, and their regulations are not so stiff as in Europe or America. So it's not that they are very free, but it's relatively more flexible for you to export medical products to Africa. Of course, halal products I mentioned, beauty and cosmetic. I tell you, the fashion in Africa is booming. Those days, when I went to South Africa or even Africa, when I look at the ladies, you look at them like those days in the photos you see, they are, front is big, the back is big, and they carry the child at the back. You see them that today, You go to supermarkets in Africa, not only South Africa, anywhere you go to Africa, you look at the girls, they're as fashionable as any Europeans. They are already becoming thin, looking at branded, looking at cosmetics and all this. Now becoming a huge market. And I know a lot of cosmetic and beauty products are coming in Africa. A lot of Malaysians are already exploring this market. Home furniture and furnishing, home furnishing and furniture, another big market. Why I say that? Because Africa generally, their industry, their manufacturing industry is not so developed. I don't know because Ola is here. Maybe Ola may not agree, but generally, the third position is not very developed. So they can buy any product from part of the world. They can buy because their cost of production is also very expensive. I can see that, for example, I went to a door factory in South Africa. The guy told me, he said that his cost is like $100 for one door. Then he said, people are bringing from Malaysia for $45. How can this happen? Then I told him, you close your factory, you buy from Malaysia. He took my advice, and then after that, he called me and said, I'm no more doing this business. I'm importing doors from Malaysia. You can see that they don't have their cost is very high because of the production cost. Although you say it's poor country, but it's not that. The production cost is very high. And some of the labor, they also have a lot of labor problems. The trade unions are very strong. So that is another area that they are facing, the manufacturing industry. And then other products, furniture is a big market. And then agricultural products, equipment and product. Of course, Africa exports a lot of agricultural products. I'm sure Ola will tell you what products they're exporting. There's a big market. Commodities, as I mentioned to you, palm oil. Palm oil came from Africa. Actually, they say it comes from Cameroon. They say it comes from Congo. And these countries are really well positioned to grow palm oil. And they could be the biggest in the world. But today, the whole thing has shifted to Malaysia and Indonesia. And now they are trying to revive their palm oil industry. Whatever it is, Africa is a big exporter of palm oil and palm oil products. They have not gone back to the old days where they were growing palm oil. Timber, they are still buying a lot of timber from us because of this, all this, the wildlife and all these things are coming in. So it's not, I see a lot of timber is coming from Indonesia, timber products, not timber products. They're coming from this part of the world to Africa. Motor vehicles and parts, motor accessories is a very big market. And they buy a lot of vehicles from Japan. And Japanese cars are very popular in Africa. So anything to do with auto parts, auto accessories is a huge market. Building materials, a lot of boom. Everywhere you see a lot of construction is going on. So this is another area that you can export to Africa. Next, please. Because I think I'm taking a lot of time, please. So the other products I feel are light machinery, transport equipment, fashion and lifestyle. As I told you, people are becoming more and more fashionable. Brands are becoming popular now. So like Malaysia, we got a lot of branded products now. If we can bring our branded products to Africa, if you can promote it the right way, you can hit the market. It's very big. There was one factory in Africa. They started producing a product called Black Like Me. If you take that Black Like Me, you put it on your face can become a bit fair. That product has hit the whole of Africa. It's a very big market. So if you have a product, I see like, for example, there is one company in India, they call it, they even sell in Malaysia, where you use the product, you become fair. They are doing very well in Africa now. They're exporting a lot. The Indian company is doing very well because a lot of black people buy I think they call it black glow or something like that. They are doing very well. So these are the innovative products that you can look at the market. Chemical and chemical product, second-hand goods. There are certain countries they buy second-hand goods, timber-based products, electrical, electronic products. What I have given you is general, because each country has got its own requirement. We are looking at 54 countries. No, so you cannot say all the 54 countries will require all these products. It's not true. What I have, the products that I mentioned here are targeting the products, the countries that I have listed before. I given you some list earlier. So these are the countries I am looking at for all these products. So there are products, you go to Nigeria, the requirements are slightly different from maybe Ghana. The requirement in Senegal is different from Kenya. So you have to study each market. I mean, by this half an hour talk, you won't be able to get everything. I'm just going through roughly, but all these things you have to understand the market, each market's requirement before you go into a particular market. Next, please. I'm taking more time. Please. Market entry strategies. In order for you to get into Africa, of course, you can contact Market Office. They will be able to give you some list. But I would think that you should look at some of the international trade fairs in Africa. Why I say international trade fairs? Because Malaysia does not participate. Those days, I know they participate in the Bulawayo fair, South African fair. Now they don't participate in any trade fair because of the budget of the Malaysian government. So they more concentrate on Dubai, they concentrate on Europe. There are certain fairs, like a few companies, you can join together and take up a booth in some of these countries' fairs. Take one booth, bring a couple of products there, and test the market. I can guarantee you do some business because this is not being done. Because, for example, if you are looking at North Africa, you can look at the Moroccan International Trade Fair, or the Algerian International Trade Fair, or the Libyan International Trade Fair. One of these fairs, you can look at it. If you are looking at East Africa, you can look at the Ethiopian International Trade Fair, or Nigeria, the Nigerian International, Lagos International Trade Fair. Or you go down further, they have the Rwandan exhibition. And then you have Mozambique exhibition. There are a lot of exhibitions. You can select which country you want. You must go and participate. And the good thing is that Madrid will finance you 25,000. They have the market development grant. So your cost will not go more than 25,000, including your ticket and hotel. So select some good countries and go into Africa. Don't waste your time going into Europe, going to Dubai again and again. It's not going to work. I know a lot of people went to Dubai. 100 times they pay, they spend a lot of money, but at the end of the day, it's too saturated. So you should look at this kind of emerging markets. The other way of doing is trade missions. I know lately, Madrid organized one mission to Egypt and Libya.
To Libya.
Libya. So I was told it was a very big success. And I met the Libyan ambassador a few days ago, and he told me that he wanted more and more Malaysians to go to Libya because he said that the Libyans are ready to buy Malaysian products. And of personal visits, online business matching, you can look at that. You can target certain countries. Nowadays, going to Africa, the visa and all these things, they make it a bit more easier. So you don't need to really break your head going to India or going to China to get a visa. There are also countries where they are open up in a way that you can get your visa on arrival. For example, Madagascar. You go there, you get a visa on arrival. You don't need to look for Madagascar embassy and so on. But there are a lot of African countries, they already make it liberal for Malaysians to enter without having to get your visa in the embassy. So you can go for some of these countries. Go and meet, go and look for. I mean, you can use the MICCI office to arrange for you. Cross-border B2B. You can use Alibaba, Tradekey.com. You can use that because all these people, they've got a very big network of buyers in Africa. You can use that. And then you can, the others are appointment of overseas agents, liaison with MICCI office. Okay, next page. Okay, this is what I would like to spend a bit, five minutes on this. Because the way you do business in Africa is different. Okay, they do have a lot of supermarkets, but there are a lot of businesses controlled by the pasar malam, the small traders. The small traders play a very big role in Africa. So, of course, direct trading you can do, open letter of credit. You can use I mean, if you are not comfortable with the local bank, you can tell them you can open a letter of credit from a recognized European bank. They do have sometimes their bank are recognized by, let's say, Barclays Bank in UK. So they do have all these credentials. So if they can, you can work with that letter of credit, fine. But I know a lot of people here, they ask for cash. And I know a lot of Nigerians who come here, pay cash and buy products and they bring back to their country. That is another way that you can do business with the Africans. Then you have these mobile transfers like Skrill, Western Union and so on. You can also use payment gateways, but for this is more for small trade. If you want to export few boxes, you can do that. But if you are looking at if you are looking at containers, then you have to look at letters of credit. And the other thing that I would look at is you have to work with a lot of these petty traders, and they go for small orders. So you don't go and tell them, I want to sell 1 container of santan. It's a bit difficult. But if you tell them, I can sell you 10 type of products in 1 container, that will be attractive to them. If you can put 10 products. So it is for us to organize ourselves. If you can work with, like, say, 5 other exporters, go join together. We say, let's take 1 container mixed cargo. That will do very well. The Singaporeans are doing very well. The Thais are doing very well on exporting mixed cargo. Whereas Malaysian exporters, they say, no, I want to only export 1 container of my product. If they cannot buy, then no, I will look at other market. So they are not looking at this part of the business. The other one is distribution centers and warehousing. The Singaporeans are doing very well in the distribution centers. What they do, for example, I know one Singaporean guy, he brings 1 container of electronic products to Walvis Bay in Namibia. When the product arrives, he goes there, he opens up the container and sells the products to all the petty traders. Within few days, he has sold, he collects all US currency, he comes back. He does that every 2 months. And he is doing a fantastic business. That's one way of doing business. And once I was in Madagascar, I was in a furniture factory, a furniture warehouse. So I was asking the lady, the owner, why don't you bring furniture from Malaysia? She told me, she introduced to me 2 Chinese furniture manufacturers who are there. Then he asked me to talk to them. You know what they told me? They just brought in 20 containers of furniture from China. When the containers arrive, they are there. And they say they work with the furniture warehouse there and they distribute the furniture to all the small furniture shops and so on. They collect the cash and they come back. This is one way of doing business with Africa. You see, not just letter of credit. This is another way that you can do. Others are doing very well. Once I was in Congo, Kinshasa, there was one Indian guy by the name of Kirti. He came to see me in South Africa. He told me he has got a warehouse in Congo along the river. He asked me, He said, you all Malaysians, you go and list your products in Giant, in Maidin. Why don't you list your product in my warehouse in Congo? Then I brought this information to Matre, to Malaysians. Nobody dared do it. Then when I went to Congo, I went to see his warehouse. You know, he has a half a kilometer of warehouse along the Congo River, and one side I see barges and barges lining up buying products from his warehouse, and the other side I see lorries lining up. Then he told me, the guy took me and told me, this is what you Malaysians are missing. You look, and when I went inside, I saw Chinese product, I saw Thai product, Philippines product, all kind of product, but no Malaysian product. That is why he said, I want to bring in Malaysian product, but you people are not adventurous, not explorers. You are one safe, letter of credit. That is not how you should do business with us. You know, I mean, it is the third world. They are still not ready for all this up-to-date letter of credit, but there are other ways of you going into the market. Another area you can look at is you can bring in your products there, but I give you one example. This Korean guy, Hyundai, what happened was he bring all the ready-made Hyundai cars to Mozambique. He brings that, he dismantle the tires, and then he export to Botswana under SKD. And when he bring it to Botswana, he don't pay any tax. And in Botswana, he put back the tires, and he export to the whole of Africa, the whole of Southern Africa without any tax. And there are a lot of others who are doing it. I know some factories in Mozambique, they bring in shirts without the collar. They bring it to Mozambique, they put the collar, they stitch the collar, and they export to Europe under the special tax treatment. They don't pay tax. A lot of these things are happening in Africa. They do that. They just dismantle, bring it there. They put it back together, and then they enter the market. They don't pay tax, and they can compete with the local market. There are a lot of things doing it. I know some Africans are here. They may not be so comfortable hearing it, but I know a lot of people do that. Hyundai is no more doing it because the government warned them, and then sooner or later they scrapped Hyundai SKD. But those days it was happening. So I know some of our door manufacturers. I know one door manufacturer who dismantled his door. He brought in as components, moldings to South Africa. He didn't pay any. He went there, he took a shop house, he put back the door, and he was selling it very cheap. He was doing a fantastic business in Africa. So this is another area of doing business in Africa. You bring the, I said, semi-finished products, and then you finish it there or pack it there and you sell it. It's another, it's a big market, 1.4 billion. Remember that. Cross-border e-commerce is another business which I mentioned earlier. Processing their own local material. They got a lot of raw materials. There are a lot of things you can do. Of course, that is I can talk for half an hour. Then sending of mixed containers. So these are the few ways that you can do business export to Africa. But there are a lot of other things you can look at. I think I don't have much time. I'm already exceeded my half an hour. I think there's another speaker waiting. So thank you very much. Maybe you can go to the next slide.
Should be ending.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, thank you.
If you have any question, you can ask after Ola has done the presentation. So both of us can answer the questions. Thank you.
Yeah. Good.
Thank you so much, Prof. Dr. Abdul Kabur. Okay, right, for the wonderful insight and the lengthy presentation. that shows his experience and also passion in terms of promoting Africa, to our local people and also for others, especially. Okay, now I would like to call upon the second presenter for today, Mr. Olawande, okay, for his topic, emerging opportunities of African products in Malaysia. Before that, I just want to give a brief introduction about him. Mr. Olawande is a strategic and result-driven professional with over 15 years of extensive experience in international trade, relation, business development, and event management. Known for his exceptional leadership and people management skills, coupled with a strong ability to foster collaboration and as well as drive international trade initiatives. Proven track record of organizing high-profile events and as well as establishing strategic partnerships across various sectors. Currently, he's serving as the Deputy President of the Malaysian African Chamber of Commerce and Industry, demonstrating a commitment to enhancing bilateral trade relationship and economic growth. Okay, thank you. Right now, Mr. Olawande, pass it to you. You can start.
All right, good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining. I'm going to be talking about the emerging opportunities for African products here in Malaysia, on how we can explore new trade possibilities between Africa and Malaysia. And this presentation examines key sectors, the challenges and the success stories to enhance bilateral economic relations between Africa and Malaysia. So about Africa, Africa is a growing powerhouse. Africa is rapidly developing continent with a projected GDP growth rate of 4.1% by 2025. And with over 1.3 billion people, Africa presents a diverse market with a rising middle class consumers, just as Dr. Kabur has mentioned. And Africa holds 30% of the world's mineral reserves and 12% of the global oil production. So we are very, very, very rich, unlike what people portray us to be. And in terms of our young workforce, Africa has one of the youngest and vibrant population globally, driving innovations and entrepreneurship. Now you have a lot of entrepreneurs coming from Africa, from different countries. If you go to the US, if you go to Europe, you're gonna see a lot of young African leaders, springing up. I know. And when it comes to bilateral trade agreements, we are increasing free trade agreements like the Africa AfCFTA, which is the Africa Continental Free Trade Areas, which offers new opportunities for trade with Malaysians. I know. So Malaysia, let me talk briefly about Malaysia. Malaysia is the gateway to Southeast Asia, right? Malaysia is a leading economy in Southeast Asia with over $300 billion in GDP. And Malaysia is strategically located. This is positioned as the hub for trade in the ASEAN region with over 600 million consumers. As in case you don't know, Malaysia is connected to Singapore. From Malaysia to Singapore is about 30 to 45 minutes by air. If you're in Johor, it's 30 minutes by road. So you can even walk into Singapore from Malaysia. Malaysia is also very close to Thailand. Malaysia is 1 hour, 30 minutes to Thailand. And Malaysia is close to Indonesia as well. It's close to Laos, the Philippines, Cambodia, Vietnam, Myanmar, Brunei, and Timor-Leste. And so, when you're bringing in your products into Malaysia, you should know you are capable of, capturing over 600 million consumers. And Malaysia's rising middle class drives demand for luxury goods, organic products, and high quality service. More like Africa as well too. Now, this is the problem we face with most Africans coming to Malaysia for trades and investment purposes, especially when they come for exhibitions. They don't relate with the African embassies here in Malaysia. And originally, embassies are supposed to be aware of anything that has to do with trades, investments, especially when it comes to you signing MOUs. You're supposed to carry your embassies along. So in Malaysia, we have 17 African embassies that are actively promoting bilateral relations here in Malaysia. And the notable embassies here in Malaysia are Nigeria, Kenya, South Africa, Egypt, Algeria, Zambia, Zimbabwe, Uganda, Tanzania, Senegal, Mauritius, Guinea, Egypt, Morocco, Namibia, Somalia, and Ghana. They have prominent representations here with ambassadors, and most of them are high commissioners. Their role here is to, the embassies create a platform for business dialogue, cultural exchange, and knowledge sharing. Embassies are very, very better for creating all these platforms, and they can serve as a gateway for African businesses entering Malaysia, and also Malaysian businesses entering Africa. They give you the right information, they connect you with the right partners, which is very, very important. The moment you get into the hands of the wrong partner, you have lost your investment. So it is always very, very important you establish a very, very good relationship with the embassies when you want to start anything that has to do with trades and investments in Malaysia or any country globally. So I'll talk about Malaysia's economic index. Malaysia's GDP grows annually between 4 to 5% annually. And Malaysia attracts significant FDI, foreign direct investments, particularly in manufacturing and in service sectors. And the key imports into Malaysia are machineries, electronics, agricultural products, which can create opportunities for African exporters. I'm going to dive into that briefly. These are the key trade areas in Malaysia: healthcare and medical tourism. For the healthcare medical tourism, patients from Africa that are seeking medical treatments, Malaysia has become a popular destination for medical tourism due to its high quality healthcare services and relatively affordable cost. Most healthcare facilities in Malaysia are government owned, and they are very, very, very cheap to afford, even for foreigners as well. And Malaysia is also promoting healthcare services to African nations, so that they can come in, receive treatment rather than going to, other countries. Malaysia has the best heart surgical hospital, the IJN, the National Heart Institute. Is one of the best in the world and very, very affordable. So these are one of the ways that, these are one of the key areas that, investments, investment opportunities between Africa and Malaysia. Another one is education and academic exchange. There are a lot of African students in Malaysia. Malaysia has well-established higher education sectors and universities attracting students across Asia and beyond, increasing the number of African students studying in Malaysia through scholarships and bilateral education agreements is a major opportunity. So for academic scholars, for school owners, we can always, collaborate with, Malaysian institutions here to promote education and academic exchange. Universities in Africa can engage in joint research programs and initiatives, and faculty exchange programs and technology transfers, especially in fields like agriculture, health sciences, and engineering. So most times it's not about, buying and selling. Most of all these things are also very, very key areas that we can establish that bilateral relationship, in terms of trades and investment. Also, commodity exchange, which is what everybody focuses on. African countries are leading suppliers of raw materials like oil, minerals, and agricultural products. So expanding commodity trade can also help Malaysia's industrial growth with most of these raw materials. Then another key trade opportunity is the micro, small, and medium-sized enterprise, which is the MSMEs from both regions. They can collaborate on innovations, on productions, services, and technology transfers. So now, what are the key imports to Malaysia? The key imports to Malaysia, they include machinery and equipment. In terms of electrical machineries, these categories include motors, generators, transformers, electrical control systems. Malaysia's demand for industrial machineries continue to grow as it expands its manufacturing base. So many manufacturing companies are trooping into Malaysia now. So, Africans can also bring in, most of their, generator appliances. Some African countries that produce all this in transformers and electrical control systems can tap into this. On the construction and mining machineries, equipment for building infrastructure such as excavators, cranes, and bulldozers is in demand due to Malaysia's ongoing urban development. In terms of agricultural machineries, South Africa has this opportunity, to explore this part. Well, equipment for mechanized farming such as tractors, harvesters, and irrigation system. They can also be imported to Malaysia as well. The second part is electronics and components, semiconductors. Malaysia is a global hub for electronics manufacturing, particularly semiconductors. This creates a steady demand for electronics components and parts. Also telecommunication equipment. With Malaysia's expanding its digital infrastructures, telecoms equipment such as mobile phones, network systems, and data center is an essential import category. Also for consumer electronics, the increasing demand for consumer electronics like smartphones, laptops, and home appliances presents an opportunity for exporters to supply components and finished products to the Malaysian markets. I think China usually gets the icing from Africa. So, it's something that, since most Chinese companies are already trooping into Malaysia as well, so we African exporters can also tap into this as well. Then the third one is agricultural products, which is very, very vast, which is a very, very vast import opportunity for African products here. So cereals and grains. Malaysia's imports significant quantities of wheat, corns, and rice to meet its domestic food needs. The major food here in Malaysia, we consume more of carbohydrates. There's no day we don't eat rice in Malaysia. It's more of our staple foods. In Africa, we eat rice maybe like 5 times in a week, but in Malaysia they eat rice, morning, afternoon, night. Is a very, very staple food here in Malaysia. So it's a very, very significant import channel. African nations with robust agricultural sectors like Ethiopia, Nigeria, Kenya could capitalize on these needs to supply cereals and grains for Malaysia. In terms of fruits and vegetables, someone just mentioned to me that Malaysians eat rice 5 times in a day, which is actually true. So in terms of fruits and vegetables, Malaysia imports tropical fruits, nuts, and vegetables to supplement its local productions. African countries with strong fruits and vegetable productions like Kenya and South Africa could benefit from this opportunities. Also, coffee and cocoa. Malaysia has a growing market for coffee and cocoa. Ethiopia, Kenya, and Ghana are major coffee and cocoa producers, offering opportunities for high value exports. So other countries like Nigeria that also produces, West African countries that produces cocoa and coffee can also tap into this opportunity. Another agricultural product is palm oil. Although Malaysia is one of the world's largest, producer of palm oil. It also imports palm oil from other regions, based on the land size in Malaysia. So the palm oil cannot, it cannot accommodate the Malaysian population of about 33 to 35 million population. So they still import these things, palm oil, from outside Malaysia. So African countries can also tap into this. Ghana, Nigeria, Cameroon, Ivory Coast can tap into this opportunity. Another major market is for agricultural products, spices. That is where Tanzania, Madagascar, they are very, very known in Malaysia for supplying Malaysians with good spices. These countries produce high quality spices such as black pepper, cloves, cardamom, which is a very, very high demand in Malaysia's food industry. And to mention another one, there are Indians here in Malaysia. Malaysia has three, should I say three races: the Malays, the Indians, and the Chinese. So the Indians eat more spices, and most of their spices are quite related to what we eat in Africa. So we can also tap into this avenue to export spices. The cloves, the black pepper, the cardamom, and a lot of spices are very, very much needed here in Malaysia. The fourth one, is commodities and raw materials, which is very, very vast exports in Africa. That's what we majorly focus on. We focus more on our raw materials like minerals. Malaysia imports raw materials and minerals for its manufacturing sectors, which includes copper, iron ore, and other precious metals. African countries rich in mineral resources such as Zambia, DR Congo, South Africa, Nigeria, Tanzania can tap into these demands. Also, precious metals such as gold, diamond, and other precious metals. South Africa, Botswana, DRC, Congo can tap into it. They could increase exports to Malaysia, which uses these materials in its growing jewelry and electronics industries. So when it comes to diamond, golds, it's not just to wear. Most of them are used in the electronics industries as well, and also petroleum and natural gas. Despite Malaysia being a major oil and gas producer, it also imports petroleum products for refining and re-exports. African oil exporters such as Nigeria and Angola have the opportunity to supply crude oil and petroleum products to Malaysia. Rubber and wood is also another commodity that can be explored in the Malaysian market. And this is where Ivory Coast and Gabon comes in to target the Malaysia's growing demands. Malaysia has less rubber plantations. In fact, sometimes last year we did an expo that a few MOU was signed with some West African countries so that they can start growing rubber plantations. So, and we have, these rubber plantations in Nigeria, for instance, wasting away. Malaysia has huge production base for medical gloves, for condoms, for tires. So we could tap into this. We could also explore this supply Malaysia with raw materials for rubber, for their demands, in the rubber industry. Another key import area is textiles and apparels. Malaysia's textile and apparels is quite similar to Africa. So Malaysia imports textiles, yarns, and fabrics for its textile and garment industries. African countries like Egypt, Kenya, with significant cotton productions, can explore these export opportunities. For apparels, as Malaysia's consumers' demand grows, so does it need for imported clothing and accessories, for the mid consumers. African countries with growing fashion industries, such as Ethiopia, Ghana, Nigeria, can leverage this textile and apparel sectors for exports into Malaysia. Then, in terms of cultural, creatives, and entertainment industries, right? Africa's fashion designers and artisans could explore the niche markets in Malaysia, especially in urban areas where there's a growing demand for unique, handmade, and sustainable products. African music is also, gaining trajectory into the Malaysian listeners. Next week, October 16th, we'll be bringing in Bremer into Malaysia. Within a week, the ticket was sold out. So imagine, we're bringing in more entertainment, more artists into Malaysia. A lot of Malaysians now listen to African music. So it's another untapped aspect for bilateral trades and investment relations. Also arts are also gaining international popularity and could be promoted in Malaysia as well. Then the cultural exchange programs, by promoting African cultural exchange and art exhibitions in Malaysia, African countries can not only boost tourism but also create trade opportunities in the creative sectors, which is something that is untapped. A lot of people are just focusing on commodities. A lot of people are focusing on agricultural products, but these are key areas that nobody is actually looking into when it comes to creatives, creative industries, entertainment, and the cultural industries. So we should also look into that as well too. And there's no trades and investments without tourism. You can't say you want to come to Malaysia without having to go through one travel agency. And also, it's another very, very key area for investments, for trades and investments in Malaysia. Tourism and travel services. Promoting African countries as tourist destinations for Malaysia is also another very key thing, which most embassies are now looking at now. You have to promote the face of your country first, for the tourism aspects, at least for you to feel home before you even start talking about investment. So tourism is very, very untapped in both markets, Africa and Malaysia. Particularly in ecotourism, adventure tourism, edu-tourism, earth tourism, cultural tourism, which could enhance people-to-people connection and foster greater business opportunities. Then we also have inbound tourism from Africa. As more African tourists explore Asia, Malaysia can also position itself as a gateway destination by promoting its diverse culture, affordability, and shopping opportunities. And let me interest you, Malaysia is the only English-speaking country in Southeast Asia. Other countries are English-speaking, but they are not as fluent as Malaysia. So when it comes to that language thing, it's settled. And also, we also have French speakers here in Malaysia as well, too, that can also interpret. So when it comes to language barrier, it's not an issue in Malaysia. So that's one of the key advantage for traders or investors that may want to be looking at exploring the Malaysian market. So what are the key considerations for African exporters or African investors? The focus on value-added products. Rather than exporting raw materials only, African businesses should aim at exporting value-added goods like processed foods, garments, and finished products, which can command higher prices in Malaysia. Allow certification. You know, Malaysia, given that Malaysia is predominantly a Muslim country, allows certification for food products, cosmetics, even pharmaceutical is critical for gaining access to the market. African exporters should ensure compliance with Malaysia's stringent allowed standards, and with allowed certificates, which are allowed certifications, you can explore other markets, because the moment other countries, other European countries, other American countries, Australian, the Pacific countries, the moment they see you have an allowed certificate from Malaysia, your product already has smooth entry already. So allowed certification is very, very vital in Malaysia, and is one of the key considerations for exporters to consider. Also, leveraging on digital platforms. E-commerce is booming in Malaysia, you know, ever since the COVID-19, and African exporters can use platforms like Lazada, Shopee, Alibaba. There's an African e-commerce platform called Shopee, which is also thriving, to directly reach the Malaysian consumers. This will eliminate the need for expensive physical distribution channels. So you can be in Africa, you can be in any part of Africa, and connect with these guys with Shopee, and your products can also get there. I buy most of my stuff online from China, from different parts. Most of them I don't even know where they come from, but I just order them online, and within 3 to 4 days they get delivered to my doorsteps, and I make payments. And also it's a key consideration for African exporters to tap into. Then strategic partnerships. African businesses should consider forming partnerships with Malaysian distributors, retailers, manufacturers, chambers of commerce like the Malaysia Africa Chamber of Commerce, Malaysia Trader Market, MEXPA, Malaysia Exporters Association, MIDA. So many of them are out there, to better understand the market and improve their chances. And that is where a whole lot of people get it wrong when they want to expand their business internationally. They just think they can just, enter into the market without forming partnerships. It is very, very, very vital for you to have strategic partners with local distributors, retailers, and manufacturers. It is very, very, very vital, and that is where the embassies comes in, because the embassies will give you the right person to partner with. They have all this information. So if you are looking at bringing in your products into Africa, I always advise you to reach out to your various embassies. Most of the embassies are here on the platform listening as well too. So what is the biggest challenges while entering Malaysian market? One is the compliance with regulations and standards. Malaysia has strict import regulations, and quality standards pose challenges for African exporters, particularly in food, medical supplies, and manufactured goods. For example, compliance with allowed certification is mandatory for food products, pharmaceuticals, and cosmetics. So African exporters must ensure that their products meet these they meet these local standards. And certain products, especially sectors like electronics, automotives, and healthcare, must adhere to specific safety and performance standards. We call it SIRIM. Yeah, SIRIM is the one that authorizes them here in Malaysia. Which may require additional certifications or modifications to the product certifications. That's for the electronics, automotives, and healthcare sectors. Then another challenge is the market awareness and brand recognitions. Lack of consumer familiarity. Many African products are not well known amongst Malaysian consumers. It's very rare for you to see any African products in any of the malls. You rarely see them. Most African products are being done from home. You have to call, maybe as a Nigerian, I want to buy a Nigerian product. I have to start calling my Nigerians. Hey, do you have this? Do you have that? They now start sending it. So there's no market awareness, there's no visibility for African products. So breaking into a market that is more familiar with the products from South East Asia, Europe, and North America can be challenging for African businesses. So, and the cultural differences as well, to understanding and adapting to the Malaysian consumer preferences and cultural nuances is very, very essential. So marketing campaigns must resonate with the local culture, lifestyle to succeed. Then competitions with already established players. As Malaysia imports products from well-established trading partners, particularly the ASEAN regions, especially the Thailands and the Indonesians, as well as China, Japan, South Korea. African exporters face strong competitions from these established players who have long-standing relationships and supply chain. And also the price sensitivity. Malaysia is very, very sensitive when it comes to price. Malaysians are very, 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 very sensitive. I used to think Nigerians could price things, but when it comes to pricing commodities, Malaysians are very, very good at pricing things. So when you're conducting your pricing, you should be very, very sensitive about it. I know, and based on the competitors around again. And another challenge is the logistics and the supply chain. Because of the geographical distance between Africa and Malaysia, which results to higher shipping costs and longer delivery times, making African products potentially less competitive compared to goods, sourced from neighboring countries in the Southeast Asia. So this is another challenge again. And then navigating Malaysia's customs procedures can be very, very complex, especially for first-time exporters. Delays in custom clearance can disrupt supply chains and can affect the timely delivery of goods. So it is not only in Africa that we have that issue of delay in custom clearing. It's also very, very is also very paramount here as well too. Another challenge is access to distribution channel, which is many African exporters lack the necessary partnerships with local distributors. Yeah, like I mentioned, most African products are sold from homes. You rarely see African stores or African shops, or you rarely see you cannot even see African products in most malls. It's very, very rare for you to see African products in most malls. So Malaysian exporters, African exporters lack necessary partnership with local distributors, retailers, and importers in Malaysia. Without this connection, it can be very, very difficult for any African to navigate the market and effectively reach its consumers. Then the e-commerce integration as well. while Malaysia has a growing e-commerce sector. Integrating African products into the popular online platforms like Lazada, Shopee, or Alibaba requires technical, logistical, and marketing enterprise. Most African products are already, they are already thriving already, and and that was why we had to create our own e-commerce platform for African products, which is called the Shop B, which is also thriving as well too. Another challenge again is the currency exchange and the financial barrier. Based on the currency volatility, fluctuations in currency exchange rates can affect the pricing and profitability for African exporters dealing in different currency. Which is a global issue, not only for Malaysia. The rise in dollar rates for African countries, is killing most of our businesses. Whereas in Malaysia's currency is going strong against the dollar. As at last month, one Malaysian ringgit to USD was 4.7, but today it is 4.3 or thereabout. Yes. So currency fluctuations may make it difficult to predict profit margins and to manage costs over time. Then financing and payment systems. Setting up reliable payment systems and ensuring secure cross-border transactions can be very, very, very challenging, especially for smaller African businesses without access to global financial networks. This is a very, very big issue, and my PhD is actually focusing on that as well, so that we can look at ways to curb this issue. Then, last but not the least challenge is the bureaucracy and trade facilitation, the regulatory complexity. Like I mentioned earlier, Malaysia's regulatory environment can be very, very difficult to navigate for foreign businesses because of the allow certification, the SIRIM certifications, and other various licenses, approvals, and permits that may be required. And so this process can be very time consuming and very restraining. And Malaysia, in some sectors, Malaysia may have a protectionist policies that favor only the local producers, making it harder for foreign companies to compete. It's always Malaysian first. So this is one other stringent challenge that most businesses face. So certain industries are restricted to local ownership, limiting opportunities for full market access. There is no problem without a solution. So there are solutions to most of all these problems. So overcoming the challenges of doing trades and investment in Malaysia is to leverage on the free trade agreements. The opportunities that Malaysia and several African nations such as Morocco, South Africa, Egypt, Nigeria, and Kenya already benefit from trade agreements like the AFCTA and the ASEAN trade deals, establishing or expanding specific FTAs between African countries and Malaysia could reduce tariffs, simplifying regulations, and also enhance bilateral trades. So governments from both regions should actively pursue bilateral trade agreements or explore joint participation in multilateral trade forums. That is why we always organize these kinds of forums, so that we can always engage in all these kind of discussions and look for means to encourage bilateral relationships between both regions. Then another ways to overcome the challenges to promote key sectors. These key sectors, it's not just, we're not just looking at the exports of commodities, agricultural commodities, minerals. Most times I just get a call, hey, can you provide me with cocoa? Can you provide me with this? Can you provide me with that? We should also look at we should also promote other key sectors, where people, that are very, very common for people, such as the healthcare and education, tourism. Malaysia being a leader in healthcare tourism and Africa's growing middle class is increasingly looking abroad for quality medical services. Likewise, Malaysian universities are becoming attractive destinations for African students. So these sectors could be promoted through targeted campaigns in Africa. Most times it's not about even Africans coming here. Most times it's about, just like Dr. Kabur mentioned, we can promote these relations with even Malaysian hospitals, Malaysian healthcare can also go to Africa and collaborate with African healthcare institutions. Then the African healthcare institutions can also come here for healthcare tourism, for trainings, for knowledge sharing, technology transfers, and all. Another key sector that we should promote is, of course, the agricultural exports. Africa is rich in agricultural products like coffee, cocoa, spices, which are in demand in Malaysia. So building a supply chain for organic and sustainable products, right, from Africa to Malaysia, could benefit both regions. MSME collaborations. There's a huge potential for collaborations between micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises from both regions, for knowledge sharing and all. So joint ventures could focus on tech, could focus on agriculture, could focus on textiles, could focus on manufacturing. Another way to overcome the challenges is to expand knowledge transfer and capacity building, which most Malaysian companies are looking at now. Sorry. Yes, expand knowledge transfer and capacity building, academic and cultural exchange, more academic partnerships, student exchanges, and research collaborations between African and Malaysian universities could lay the groundwork for a stronger economic ties. Recently, Lincoln University just opened up its branch in Nigeria. They're going all out to some other regions in Africa, in East Africa, and also this should be promoted oftentimes so that we can transfer knowledge and also transfer capacity building. So, and also skills development. We should encourage joint trainings and development programs, especially in agriculture, in manufacturing, and entrepreneurship. African nations could benefit from Malaysia's industrial expertise, while Malaysia could tap into Africa's growing tech and innovation sectors, capacity building, knowledge transfer, very, very symbiotic relationship. And another ways to overcome this challenge is to encourage infrastructure and logistics investment. We should improve shipping and logistics. One of the key barriers to Africa-Malaysia trade is high transportation cost. The products are not that expensive, but the moment you now start hearing the price of shipping, not just the price, the distance, the duration when your product is going to reach Africa. So that's why most people resort to using air cargo. And by the moment you now use air cargo, your products the price has already It has already increased. So investment in infrastructures and partnerships with logistics firm could optimize, supply chain, could optimize supply chain. Malaysians could help develop ports and transport networks across African countries, improving trade flows. We should also focus on the special economic zones. Malaysia could collaborate with African nations to develop special economic zones or manufacturing hubs, making it easier for businesses to operate across both regions and attract foreign investments. Another way to overcome this challenge is to enhance branding and market awareness. One of the challenges African businesses face, as mentioned earlier in Malaysia, is lack of consumer awareness. So strategic marketing campaigns. And that is why we always invite Africans to come for exhibitions. But most of them, when they come for exhibitions, that is the time they go around shopping. Rather than doing B2Bs, they go around shopping, sightseeing, and also, strategic marketing campaigns, during trade fairs and exhibitions can promote and build familiarity with African products. And this is where the embassies actually comes in. Just recently we had the Malaysia International Halal showcase. We had a few African countries that came to showcase their products from Zimbabwe, from Zambia, from Nigeria, from Liberia, different African countries, and there were a lot of a lot of people. Oh, so this one is from Africa, so we can actually get this from Africa. So we should be doing this more often. The embassies should be creating these opportunities more often. On Saturday now, Kenya is going to be doing an exhibition at the embassy. They've invited a few Malaysian companies. They've invited, so they are going to be exhibiting Kenya products, to the Malaysian community on Saturday. If other embassies could actually replicate this, it's also going to help us. When Nigerian embassy showcases what we also produce in Nigeria, Zimbabwe does the same thing, Zambia does the same thing, it's also going to help us. So we should be very, very consistent in enhancing our brands and promoting the African brands here in Malaysia. Then support for e-commerce and digital trades with platforms like Lazada and Shopee. There are opportunities for African businesses to sell directly to Malaysian consumers without needing a physical presence. Malaysia's robust e-commerce infrastructures could support African entrepreneurs. Then also facilitating seamless cross-border payments, and supporting financial technologies partnerships could ease transactions for SMEs from both regions. There are a lot of financial gateways here in Malaysia, and they're also booming financial transaction gateways in Africa. So this is where the collaboration comes in. So we can also synchronize these two parties together to aid our bilateral relationships, and also we need to boost diplomatic and business ties. African embassies in Malaysia should work closely with local chambers of commerce, trade associations, government bodies like Malaysia Investment and Development Authorities to actively promote African products and investments. I've gone to Madrid, I've gone to Maida, I've gone to MICCI, where most of all these products from other countries are being promoted. You rarely see African products being promoted in all these places. So this is where the embassies actually comes in to promote, to strengthen that trade ties. I know. So the moment the Malaysian government or the Malaysians are saying that the embassies are now quite interested in facilitating most of all these trades and investment. Everybody also picks up as well too. Another way to boost diplomatic and business ties is the joint business councils and forums. We should establish more joint business councils, more trade forums that bring together entrepreneurs, investors, policymakers from regions to discuss opportunities, challenges, and investment opportunities. We started with the Asia Africa Chamber of Commerce. When we saw Asia Africa Chamber of Commerce is so big, we had to narrow it down to Malaysia Africa Chamber of Commerce, where Malaysians can promote their products to the African countries, and the other joint chambers of commerce, Malaysia, Libya, Malaysia, Nigeria, Malaysia, Kenya, so many of them are that. So we should also encourage most of all these joint business councils to promote trades and investment opportunities between both countries or between both regions. And the last one is to simplify trade regulations and improve standards. By aligning standards and certifications, e.g., they allow certifications for food, cosmetics, and other products to make it easier for African goods and to enter into the Malaysian market, and also to reduce bureaucracy. Both regions can enhance trade by simplifying custom processes and reducing administrative barriers that slows down the movement of goods. So with all this, I think it's really going to, our challenges, it's with trades and investment, bilateral promoting trade and investment will be reduced drastically. And the most important one is to engage, like I mentioned earlier, is to engage with trade associations and chambers of commerce. We have, like I mentioned earlier, we have trade bodies like Malaysia Africa Chamber of Commerce, the MICCI. We have Asia Africa Chamber of Commerce, AACC. We have the Malaysia Trader Market, which is based in Nigeria, to bring in Malaysian products into Nigeria. That is where the Malaysian Traders Market is. It's like an arm of Matrade in Nigeria, and also the Malaysia Investment Development Authority, and of course Matrade. These associations, these chambers of commerce can provide support, can facilitate networking, and the major thing is to offer guidance on market entries and strategies. That is where a lot of people get it wrong. Most people don't have the strategies to penetrate into the market. So this is where the trade associations and the trade chambers of commerce actually comes in. Now I go to my last slide. Amongst all this, a lot of people are saying, "Oh, we don't have Malaysian products here in Africa. In Malaysia. We don't have African products here in Malaysia." Here are some success stories of African products here in Malaysia. One is the Ethiopian coffee in Malaysia. The success story is that Ethiopian coffee is gaining popularity in Malaysia, especially in specialty coffee shops and premium retail outlets. Ethiopian beans is known for their rich flavor profiles, and they have become a favorite in Malaysia's growing cafe culture. So other coffee producing countries like Kenya, Uganda can also tap into this. And why does it work? It's because Malaysia's rising middle class has a growing appetite for premium coffee. I wasn't taking coffee in Nigeria. While I was in Nigeria, it was until I got to Malaysia, I started taking coffee, and it's quite interesting, and and Ethiopia's reputation for producing some of the world's best coffee beans makes it a natural fit. Cafes in KL, Kuala Lumpur, such as VCR and Pop, even Starbucks, have introduced Ethiopian coffee as part of their high-end offerings. So the Kenyans can also tap into this. The Ugandans can also tap into this. Then the Ghanaian cocoa in the Malaysian chocolate industry. Ghana is known for its high quality cocoa bean and has seen its cocoa used in artisanal and luxury chocolate brands in Malaysia. Malaysians chocolatiers are increasingly sourcing Ghanaian cocoa to craft premium chocolates that appeal to discerning consumers. And why it works is because Ghanaian cocoa is renowned for its superior quality, and Malaysia's niche market for artisanal and luxury chocolates is growing. So local brands and international chocolate makers in Malaysia are capitalizing on this demand by using Ghanaian cocoa to create high-end products. So Nigeria produces cocoa, West African countries produces cocoa. So rather than exporting your cocoa to only Europe, look at Malaysia. Another one is the South African wine in Malaysian restaurants. South African wines, particularly from the Western Cape region, are being imported and served in upper scale restaurants and hotels in Malaysia. Right, so wines from well-known South African vineyards are featured on the wine list at some of Malaysia's most prestigious establishments. If you go to Mandarin, you see Mandarin Hotel, you see South African wines there. I was so surprised there. So that was wow. So we have an African product on your shelf. So and why it works is because Malaysia's hospitality industry is becoming more cosmopolitan with a growing demand for fine wines from around the world. And South African wines, known for their quality and variety, offers a unique alternative to traditional wine producers like France, Italy, and Australia. I went to a wine tasting event on was it Sunday, and a South African wine also featured in it. I was very, very proud of my continent. So that is also another market that could be tapped into as well, because there's a success story there as well too. Shea butters from West Africa in Malaysia's cosmetics. Shea butter from West African countries like Ghana and Nigeria has found a niche in a niche market in Malaysia's beauty and skincare industry. It is used as key ingredients in organic and natural cosmetics, particularly for its moisturizing properties. And why it works is because with increasing consumer awareness about the benefits of natural and organic products, Malaysians are going organic now. Malaysian consumers are looking for high quality, sustainable ingredients in their skincare products. Shea butter's reputations for being a natural moisturizer has made it a popular choice in Malaysia's cosmetics industry. So that is another market. So if you have access to shea butter, you can always Malaysia is your next bus stop to supply your shea butter. Also, is the Tanzania cloves in the Malaysian spice market. Tanzanian cloves, known for its intense aroma and flavor, are becoming popular in Malaysia, where spices play an integral role in local cuisines, especially the Indian cuisines. I'm mentioning Indian so much because that's one of my favorites cuisine here in Malaysia. So Tanzania's high quality cloves are used in many Malaysian households and restaurants alike. And why it works is because Malaysia's rich culinary traditions involve extensive use of spices, particularly in local dishes like curries. So Tanzanian cloves, with their superior quality, cater to Malaysia's demand for premium spices, both in household and in food industry. So that is another added advantage. For most Tanzanians are on the platform, you can also look into this, for you to create more opportunities. So Kenyan teas as well is also very, very, Malaysia is a tea drinking culture. So Kenyan tea has started gaining recognition in the Malaysia tea market with its robust flavor and its fits into this market. Another success story is the Moroccan argan oil, which is often referred to as liquid gold, and is being imported from Morocco and used in premium hair and skincare products in Malaysia. Its reputation as versatile beauty products has made it popular choice in Malaysia's beauty market. Nigerian cashew is also is making their way into the Malaysia health food stores and gourmet markets, where they are sold as snacks and they are used in cooking. Nigeria is one of the largest producers of cashew in the world, and its exports are gaining popularity in markets that value high quality nuts. So Nigerian cashew is also gaining trajectories in Malaysia as well too. Then I didn't include this on my slide, is the Ivory Coast rubber. Ivory Coast is a major producer of natural rubber, and its rubber is being imported into Malaysia for its country's tires and rubber goods manufacturing sectors, such as gloves and condoms. And also Nigeria could also tap into this market, and also Cameroon, which also produces rubber, can also tap into this. So in conclusion, with this highlights the potential for African products to succeed in the Malaysian market across various sectors, including agriculture, beauty, and food. Success depends on positioning these products as high-quality premium options that cater to Malaysia's evolving consumers' preference, such as sustainability, health, and luxury. So African exporters can build on these success stories by focusing on quality branding and strategic partnerships to further penetrate into Malaysian market. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Olawande. Wonderful, presentation and insight regards to the opportunity for African product in Malaysia. Probably a lot of people will be like, now get an idea what they actually can bring in from Africa to the Malaysian market, and in fact, not only to the Malaysian market, but obviously to this part of the world. All right. Now, I think we already passed 2 hours actually. We started about 9 o'clock. Okay, right, and now it's already 11:07. Okay. For the latecomers or the one joined in late, okay, so this business webinar is actually organized, will be organized on a monthly basis, and it's actually being organized by Asia Africa Chamber of Commerce, Malaysian Exporters Association, the Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Malaysian African Chamber of Commerce and Industry, BRICS Chamber of Commerce, and Malaysian Exporters Academy. Right. So this is information for the one that's coming in late. All right. Okay, now we can go for question and answer session. I think there's one question in the message just now. I'm just going to actually repeat the question. The question goes like this: are there any non-tariff barrier to company exporting from Africa to Malaysia? So here the question is that what about the tariff barriers that's probably available, non-tariff tariffs that are available for companies that would like to bring in their product into Malaysia from Africa? Thank you. Who would like to answer that? Olawande or Prof. Kabur?
Dr. Kabur. Dr. Kabur.
Yes. Okay.
Sure.
You're actually looking at bringing in products from Africa to Malaysia, right? Yeah. We do. I don't know which product we are looking at, because we also follow the harmonized custom classification. So we do have a set of taxes that you have to pay. I don't see any of the African countries signing any free trade agreement with Malaysia. So all African products coming into Malaysia are subjected to the normal tax imposed by the Malaysian government. I think that's it. I don't see any priority or any priority has been awarded to any country in Africa. Maybe with BRICS, which is what is being mentioned recently. Once the BRICS is in place, it's possible that things can change. So far, there have been, even there's no negotiation of any free trade agreement with any African countries. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Any other questions? Is there any other questions? I know it's getting late, but this is the opportunity for you to, get the questions answered.
Actually, it's a very good opportunity for all present.
Just to add, let me, those who are interested to explore into the African market, I think most of you might be interested to look at that. We have a portal called gtrade21.com. It's called gtrade21.com. If you go in, we have almost 30 representatives from 30 African countries. So what they will do, if you have a product to sell, you just have to send them the specification. They will find the buyers and then they will link you up. And this portal is only going to be launched in October. So you can already go in and familiarize yourself. Of course, if you go to Matre can give you a list. Of course, Matre has got only limited office. They can give you a list. And with that list, you can contact them. But whereas the people, those representatives in G3, they will go on the ground, look for the buyers, and they will connect you with them. So you just have a look at that. There's an additional business for you. Please put the link in the chat. Okay, I will do it.
In the chat, yeah.
Okay, I will do that.
Any other question?
Okay, welcome.
I've already shared it, Dr. Kabur, the link.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
link is
sorry.
in the chat.
Okay, that's fine.
It's there.
Okay, if there's no question, I would like to thank the presenters. Okay, there's another question. Okay, there's one more question. What's the Shopee platform available to connect the buyer and the seller? That's the question posted. What's the Shopee platform that's available to buyer and seller?
Actually, at the moment, Shopee is targeting more the Malaysian market, right? This is more of a B2C, business to consumer. It's not a B2B platform. But at the moment, they are also moving towards, it's just a platform like Alibaba.com, TradeKey.com. They are moving towards that. So it's, you can just open a shop, sell your products to the other Malaysians. It's a B2C. It's a B2C platform.
Then there's to add to that, so there is also there's a Shop B e-commerce platform. I think it was recently launched, for African businesses. I've pasted the link on the website here on the chat box. It's Shop B. It's they're based in Malaysia, but they bring in African products and also take out Malaysian products to Africa as well too.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
Any questions, Mr. Ramesh? Anything we would like to highlight?
So far, no question. No. Thanks.
All right.
Thank you.
It was a very informative program today. I think, Mr. Jaya, if there's no questions, we can conclude and maybe set the next month's date so more people can join us.
Yeah, okay, all right. I think we can conclude. It's already past 11 here in Malaysia. Okay, so I would like to thank the presenters again, Prof. Dr. Abdul Kabur and also Mr. Olawande. All right, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge, insights regards to these topics. Okay, all right. And we will be having another session next month, the last 4th week, okay, most probably on Wednesday. All right. So till then, see you. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you all. And good
All
night.
right, thank you very much.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Good night.
Bye.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you. Yeah.